Hello everybody, this is Bitcoin Macro, and on this video guys I'm going to talk about Livepeer. So Livepeer is the world's open video infrastructure, so it's a decentralized video streaming network built on the Ethereum blockchain, and it's quite different from Theta because Theta actually has its own network. It's something very different, whereas Livepeer is based on Ethereum. So in my opinion, Livepeer has some of the biggest prospects in order to do very well, because especially stuff that new people can relate to, overall live streaming videos and all that stuff, they seem very revolutionary, and they actually are. Now I don't really know how much that will benefit the token actually, and that's usually the main thing I contest. The fact that the token might be very useless, whereas the actual platform might be very useful. So leaving that aside, we have to look at some of the biggest things, some of the biggest narratives in my opinion. And the first one is that it's one of the coins Barry Silbert has been involved in. It got a trust like a grayscale product, so some big investors could invest in it, and that's essentially what gave it the biggest boost to come out of its bear market. Because if we look at the price, the first pump actually happened, apologies about that, the first pump actually happened back then when Livepeer was actually just trading on Poloniex, very few exchanges, maybe on Uniswap as well, but nothing major. So it was just having like a terrible bear market, and then once the first announcement got out, it had its first pump. So this was the first one, and then it went sideways because it wasn't sure if it was going to actually be listed on Grayscale so that people could invest in it, at least big investors. And then once that was confirmed, the big pump started. Now there were other factors as well, some key listings which we're going to talk about very soon, and in my opinion there would be some more that could make it go even higher. So the first thing that I would look at least in this chart, is how big the capitulation has been. Initially, at least over the summer alt season, it had a nice pump early on, didn't really have anything major, and it has been one of the coins that has one of the most special charts when I look at it in BTC terms, because it looks like a massive double bottom or round bottom, which is very special. Because when you have something like this make a new low like on very low volume, and then kind of reclaim it based on big news, and then slowly break even above this key resistance level, because that was support, then it became resistance, now it has become support again, and all that while this main pivot was resistance, then it just broke massive breakout, and now R3 is slowly potentially turning into support. Because in my opinion, when something pulls back onto R3 after a big breakout like this one, which is a confirmed breakout in my opinion, because we've already had 2 attempts, potentially this one could be the largest one and might have a very big rally. Now, key things to notice: coins that are related to Barry Silbert do well. Okay, that's a bit of a fact now that most people know about the coins Barry's invested in, at least the ones especially that have a grayscale trust. Now, the second thing is that recently it got listed on Bithumb. Well, it was actually listed on Bithumb, but it was only trading versus Bitcoin, not against the Korean won. And that's a big addition because things are very hot in Korea, so we have to keep an eye on those listings and how they affect the market. So the most recent mini pump right here was related to that, and in my opinion, now that the market is subsiding a little bit, it could have another round higher. So usually I would just like to see it go up to this level right there. In my opinion, it would be the best retest, and it would make a lot of sense to me to just go back and fill that void, maybe have a little pullback afterwards, and then continue higher if it's supposed to continue higher. Now, I've been very surprised by how high it was. Again, many of those coins, guys, from back in the day, because I had a very unfortunate listing, at least launch on Poloniex, because it was right after the big capitulation in the 2018 bear market, at the end of the 2018 bear market, but I had a big dump, and at the time its market cap, at least in Bitcoin terms, was very high, very different from what it is right now. But to me, this hasn't really had a major pump. I don't really consider this anything too major because we just listed on Poloniex, whereas right now it's listed on more and more exchanges. One of those more recent ones have been OKX, MXC as well, Gate, Bithumb, and some other ones. But overall, it's not listed still on any big exchange. Maybe Binance will follow soon. We've seen Barry Silbert mention Livepeer on some tweets below Binance as to which coin Binance should be listing next. So that means to me that Barry has a big bag, so he probably won't be selling anytime soon. And at the same time, it's one of those coins mentioned by Coinbase in terms of which coins they might be listing next. And the chart just agrees, at least in my opinion. That's what the chart is telling me. So finally, the other thing that I would say is we have a very nice base here. So that was essentially going sideways for a really long time. I don't really think it was just like a proper bear market for this one, because it started at the end of the bear. So it was just like going sideways more than actually trending down, at least versus the US dollar. And after all that sideways movement, I'll be quite surprised if it just tops with a, let's say 5-6x, however much it is, since it had that major pump. So it's about 7.5x. So it's just still not that much. And in my opinion, whenever I see coins trend like this and have a second attempt to the all-time highs, they usually don't tend to just stop like this. We very rarely would see a coin have a major bear market start, a major drop, with a double top. Okay, it's just very rare. Like now, maybe that's distribution, maybe it's what's gonna take us lower, but I just don't see anything very bearish right now. At least, again, that's my opinion. So once it gets back into this trend versus the US dollar, it might have a very nice pump, a nice continuation, especially with more listings that could be followed very soon. Because again, although it's about 800 million in market cap, I do believe that because it's not really that inflationary, it could do very well. And remember guys, listings do matter, connections do matter, and I do believe that potentially this coin was actually fully controlled by Barry Silbert way before it started having those massive pumps. So he was potentially accumulating very slowly, very silently, and now he's just taking advantage of it. Of course, I'm not gonna say that it's just the best coin or anything like it, but the charts look clean. It's still in a very nice bull market. Getting listed on Bithumb is something that I can't ignore, and the fact that it has been gaining more and more listings slowly rather than all of them at once, you know, I do believe it could pump very nicely, because at some point maybe both Binance Huobi and Coinbase listed in a very short time frame, so it might even break way higher than my target right here. So from here it's potentially a double, but it could go much higher if it gets listed on all of those exchanges that I mentioned, because again, the trend looks clean. This looks like a nice pattern, like a pennant, like a flag, whatever you want to call it. So this is the first target, and then we might be looking for new all-time highs later on this year. So that's it from me guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Please remember, like, subscribe, share the video. You know, just leave me a comment down below. Tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like. I try to cover all coins. For example, the previous one wasn't as bullish as this one, so I try to give you guys a well-rounded view of what I'm looking at, to just give you a good idea of thinking, of how I'm thinking in a more complex way, not just based on technical analysis. You just look a bit at the listings, look a bit at the fundamentals, look a bit, like, let's say, at the technical analysis as well, which is the main base actually. But I do believe there can be a lot of complementary stuff with fundamentals and quantitative data. So remember, you can follow me on Twitter, TradingView, and Telegram for quick updates. And remember guys, stay safe out there, don't overinvest, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.